It wasn't Shedeur Sanders' stats that convinced the Browns to double down on him, it was everything he did when the stats weren't there. His composure under pressure, his refusal to panic behind a broken offensive line, and his ability to make something out of nothing forced Jimmy Haslam to act. The owner didn't wait for consensus. He made it happen. By demanding Sanders remain the focal point, Haslam signaled that leadership, not just performance, was going to shape the Browns' future.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
That vote of confidence immediately triggered roster moves aimed at giving Sanders a real chance to win, starting with more protection. And it's long overdue. The Browns have spent too many seasons gambling on quick fixes, hoping raw talent could overcome structural failures. Now they're finally putting the structure first. With Kendrick Green bolstering the line and a hunt for a true number one receiver underway, the blueprint is shifting. It's no longer about hoping Sanders survives the season, it's about giving him the tools to dominate it. This could be the start of a new identity for Cleveland. Tough, smart, and built around the right player for the right reasons. Jimmy Haslam isn't exactly known for subtle moves, but even by his standards, this was a flex. In a move that shook the Cleveland Browns front office and confirmed what many suspected, Haslam made it clear, Shedeur Sanders isn't going anywhere. Not only that, but the entire franchise is about to bend itself around him. Reports from inside the building say Haslam directly intervened to keep Sanders locked in for the next season, and suddenly, all the pieces started falling into place. You could feel the power shift before it was officially confirmed. When ownership steps in, it's never just about personnel, it's a message. And this one was loud. The Browns aren't messing around with their quarterback situation anymore. They've made their decision. They're rolling with Sanders and everything else has to fall in line. This wasn't just a roster move. It was a philosophical shift. After years of quarterback purgatory and scrambled leadership, the Browns have chosen a direction, and it's centered around a young QB who's already proven he can handle chaos. Shedeur Sanders, despite limited protection and a revolving door of support, has shown poise, awareness, and the kind of decision-making that doesn't come easy under pressure. The front office has seen enough. No more half measures. If they were serious about Sanders being the face of the franchise, they had to act like it. And they did. With Haslam leading the charge, the Browns began restructuring their offensive priorities, finally acknowledging what fans and analysts have been screaming about for months. The message became clearer when you looked at practice. Sanders, once seen scrambling for his life behind a collapsing pocket, was now working in drills with more stability. The tone shifted. This wasn't about making it work anymore. It was about setting him up to win. The pressure wasn't just on Sanders to elevate the team. It was now on the team to meet him halfway. And that's where Kendrick Green enters the picture. Out of nowhere, the Browns scooped him off the Bills' practice squad. It wasn't a blockbuster move, but it was exactly what needed to happen. They weren't chasing names, they were chasing grit. Green brought the kind of toughness and experience the offensive line desperately lacked. Kendrick Green wasn't signed to make headlines. He was signed to stop the bleeding. The Browns' offensive line had been exposed repeatedly, with blown assignments and missed protections putting Sanders in survival mode. Green's arrival signaled a pivot toward fundamentals: fix the trenches, protect the quarterback, and give the offense a chance to breathe. The Browns could have waited. They could have kept pretending the line would sort itself out. But Haslam's move forced urgency. Green's presence wasn't a solution in itself, it was a reminder. If you want Sanders to thrive, you can't let him get buried behind a weak front five. Protection is the baseline. Everything else builds from there. Looking back, the dysfunction was obvious. The Browns had spent too long throwing together inconsistent rosters, mismanaging talent, and hoping the latest coaching tweak would finally click. It never did. Game after game, the issues repeated themselves. No rhythm, no cohesion, and quarterbacks, Sanders included, paying the price for it. Fans didn't need a press release to know the Browns were lost. They watched it happen in real time. Sanders made smart throws, read defenses, and moved when he needed to, but without a clean pocket or reliable targets, he was stuck trying to pull miracles out of broken plays. It wasn't sustainable. Kevin Stefanski's name has come up more than once in this conversation. As the head coach, his decisions around schemes, blocking assignments, and offensive rhythm have been under scrutiny. It's not just about talent, it's about putting that talent in position to succeed. And for too long, Sanders was left exposed. To his credit, Stefanski didn't push back on the changes. After Haslam's directive, the coaching staff fell in line. The shift in tone was noticeable. There was less emphasis on forcing Sanders to adapt, and more focus on adapting the system to him. That's how good organizations operate. And if this staff wants to stick around, they'll need to keep making those adjustments. When Sanders finally addressed the media, the subtext was hard to miss. He didn't throw anyone under the bus, but he didn't have to. He spoke like a quarterback who knew the stakes. Every question about next season, about staying in Cleveland, about his development, it all came back to one thing: support. His tone was calm but clear. He's committed. He's locked in. But he's not doing it alone anymore. For once, the franchise seems to understand that supporting a young QB isn't just about hype videos and hashtags. It's about structure. It's about showing, not telling. And now they're finally showing. Game tape doesn't lie. Watch Sanders under pressure and you'll see a quarterback who makes the right reads, moves with purpose, and stays composed, even when the play breaks down. That's not luck. That's instinct. And it's rare. Most quarterbacks crumble when the pocket disappears. Sanders recalibrates. That's why this matters. When a player like that is constantly running for his life, it's not just bad football, it's wasted potential. The Browns saw it too. They know they've been sabotaging their own asset. And signing someone like Green isn't just a correction, it's an admission. They're done pretending it's fine. Sanders isn't the kind of player who needs everything to be perfect. That's what makes him different. He doesn't flinch when things go sideways. But that doesn't mean he should have to carry the team on his back every week. What he needs is a system that respects his skills, not one that relies on him to fix its flaws. With a stronger line, smarter protection schemes, and even talks of acquiring a legitimate WR1, Sanders might finally get a real shot to elevate this team. And if that happens, the Browns could shift from rebuilding to competing a lot faster than expected. At the center of all this, Haslam's influence can't be ignored. His move wasn't just about keeping Sanders. It was about finally taking accountability for the franchise's trajectory. You don't make a decision like this unless you know you've been part of the problem. And clearly he does. Now the question becomes whether this new strategy sticks. One good signing doesn't fix years of chaos. But it does show intention. It shows ownership is willing to take a stand. And if that momentum holds, the Browns might finally give Sanders the tools to become the quarterback he's shown flashes of being. If you've been following this saga, you know how long overdue this moment is. And if you're hopeful the Browns finally turned a corner, hit the like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more breakdowns like this. Back at practice, the difference in tempo is hard to miss. Sanders isn't checking over his shoulder every other snap. The line is holding longer. Drills are tighter. The communication is more fluid. When a quarterback doesn't have to worry about immediate collapse, the entire operation changes. And now, for the first time in a long time, Sanders looks like he's operating within a plan, not just reacting to chaos. It's clear the staff is building something intentional around him. Reps are being tailored to his style, and offensive sets are finally reflecting his strengths. This isn't just about survival anymore, it's development. The Browns aren't asking Sanders to be a magician. They're giving him structure, and in turn he's responding with command. Kendrick Green's role in that development is already being felt. He might not be a Pro Bowler, but what he brings is reliability, stability. And right now that's worth more than flash. The Browns didn't need a superstar lineman, they needed someone who could hold the line and plug holes. Green fits the job description. Green's presence also pushes the rest of the line to tighten up. It's a ripple effect. When one guy executes consistently, others fall in line or fall behind. That kind of accountability has been missing. And now that the spotlight is on protecting Sanders, nobody wants to be the weak link. Kevin Stefanski has spoken on the team's renewed focus on fundamentals, and while that may sound like coach speak, it's also true. The recent stretch of games exposed just how far the Browns had drifted from the basics. The schemes were overcomplicated. The line was overwhelmed. And the quarterback was isolated. What's happening now isn't revolutionary. It's correction. Stefanski and his staff are stripping things down, re-establishing identity, and finally recognizing that flashy plays mean nothing if you can't win the line of scrimmage. It's not about reinventing the wheel, it's about finally using it properly. And when you look at the tape of Sanders, especially those long drives where he had even a sliver of protection, you see it. The reads come faster. The ball placement tightens up. His control over tempo becomes obvious. He's not just reacting to the game, he's directing it. That's the quarterback Cleveland drafted for. That's the version of Sanders who can take over a game when given the tools. And now, as those tools finally begin to take shape, expectations rise. The franchise isn't asking if Sanders can lead this team anymore, they're building around the fact that he will. The shift feels especially stark when compared to what came before. The Browns' offensive performance in recent matchups was a case study in dysfunction. Breakdowns at the line, confusion in the backfield, and a young quarterback with no runway to operate. Fans didn't need all 22 footage to see it, it was right there on their screens. The frustration wasn't just about losing. It was the manner of it. Watching Sanders get sacked on 3rd and long for the 5th time in a game wasn't just predictable, it was preventable. And each time it happened, it chipped away at the confidence not just in the player, but in the franchise's ability to support him. So when Sanders stood at the podium and talked about trusting the process, it didn't sound like blind optimism. It sounded earned. He knows what he's been through. He's felt every blown protection, every late adjustment, every narrow escape. So if he says things are turning around, that carries weight. He didn't promise instant results. He didn't overhype what's coming. He just said the team is moving in the right direction, and that for once he can feel it. That might not make headlines, but for a quarterback who spent a season scrambling for survival, it's a turning point. Jimmy Haslam's fingerprints are all over this pivot. When ownership gets involved at this level, it's usually for one of two reasons: desperation or clarity. This time it looks like clarity. Haslam saw where this was heading. He saw the risk of wasting a rare quarterback talent by surrounding him with instability and noise. And he stepped in. Critics may call it meddling, but when the end result is roster moves that actually address core issues, most fans will take it. Haslam has made mistakes before, big ones, but his decision to center the organization around Sanders might be the first one in a while that actually unites the fanbase. And Sanders? He's not treating this like some reward. He's treating it like responsibility. With the vote of confidence comes pressure, and he knows it. You can hear it in the way he talks about leadership. The way he deflects credit and emphasizes the team. He's not trying to be the savior. He's trying to win games. That's a big difference. The Browns don't need another media darling or marketing poster boy. They need results. And if Sanders keeps getting better protection, and the offense keeps building around him, those results might finally start coming. You can feel the locker room shifting too. Practice isn't just more structured, it's more competitive. Players see the franchise putting real weight behind Sanders and they're responding. No one wants to be the guy holding him back. That's how internal culture starts to change, not from speeches but from action. Veterans have started mentoring more. Line drills are louder, faster, sharper. There's less joking, more focus. Not because anyone's scared, but because they know the window is open. If the team clicks now, they can ride that wave into the next season with real momentum. His challenge now is consistency. A few roster moves and cleaner practices don't erase a year of poor execution. The coaching staff has to match the energy coming from above. Because now the excuse list is shrinking. The front office is making moves. The quarterback is performing. The only thing left is for the coaching to deliver. And that's where things get serious. Because if the Browns stumble now, if protection breaks down again, or if the play calling stunts Sanders' growth, the heat won't be on the players. It'll be on the sidelines. Ownership has shown its hand. Now it's up to Stefanski to play his cards right. The Browns' past few seasons haven't exactly been short on reminders of what not to do. Quarterbacks tossed in and out like expired milk, playbooks rewritten mid-season, and a carousel of linemen who couldn't hold a block if their job depended on it, which it did. It was dysfunction at every level, and you could see it play out every Sunday. But with the spotlight now on building a structure around Sanders, the Browns are finally starting to clean house where it matters. Not just names on a roster, but philosophies, strategies, habits. For once, the decisions aren't reactive, they're proactive. Instead of band-aiding problems mid-game, they're preventing them from happening in the first place. Take Green's arrival as a perfect example. It wasn't flashy, but it was urgent. And it sent a message: mistakes up front will no longer be tolerated. The front office didn't wait for another game to collapse before taking action. They didn't let Sanders take another 5 sacks before asking questions. They moved, and quickly. That alone is a culture shift. In the old days, the Browns would have let the O-line limp into another loss, then spin the result as a learning experience. Not anymore. They're operating with the urgency of a franchise that knows the clock is ticking. Because with a young quarterback this promising, every wasted game is a wasted opportunity. When Sanders stood at that podium, you could hear that urgency in his voice too. He's not coasting on hype. He's not leaning on potential. He wants results. And he's done with excuses. There's a quiet edge to how he talks about the offense now, like he knows the team finally understands what's at stake. He's not demanding perfection, but he's expecting improvement. And when your quarterback holds himself and the team to that standard, the rest of the roster tends to follow. There's no shrugging off missed blocks anymore. No laughing off blown routes. Sanders is setting the tone and everyone else is playing catch-up. On the field you're already seeing the impact. In the latest snaps there's more tempo. Sanders isn't hesitating. He's reading faster, moving cleaner, making decisive throws. And the pocket isn't collapsing the second the ball is snapped, which means he's finally getting to do what he does best: process, execute, and lead. Watch the film. Look at the moments where he gets even 3 full seconds. The accuracy sharpens. The confidence shows. He's calling audibles, shifting protections, communicating like a vet. And all of that happens because for once the system is giving him room to breathe. It's not perfect, but it's progress. That progress is what Jimmy Haslam wanted when he forced the franchise's hand. His decision to lock in Sanders wasn't just about talent. It was about direction. He's tired of seeing a carousel of quarterbacks tossed into doomed systems. He saw in Sanders what so many Browns fans saw too, a glimmer of something different. Something steady. So he pulled rank. And for once it looks like the organization is better for it. Haslam's history with the team is complicated, but this move might be the one that starts turning that legacy around. Because when the owner backs the quarterback, and puts action behind that support, it sends shockwaves down the chain. For Sanders it means security. Not the kind that makes you comfortable, but the kind that gives you confidence to grow. He knows he has backing now. He doesn't have to worry about being scapegoated after a bad game or sidelined if things go south. He can focus on football, and that makes all the difference. You can hear it in how he talks about the team. He's not like a guy hoping to make it to next season. He's talking like a guy who knows he's the future. And when a quarterback carries that mindset, the team naturally starts orbiting around him. That's leadership earned the hard way. For Kevin Stefanski this is a defining moment. Because while Haslam may have drawn the line in the sand, Stefanski is still the one calling plays. And every decision from here on out will be measured against one thing. Is this helping Sanders succeed? There's no more room for abstract schemes or mismatched systems. Stefanski has to build for his quarterback, not just around him. The pressure is on. If he can't adapt to the reality of the roster, the team won't wait. The front office already showed they're willing to move pieces to support Sanders. Coaches won't be an exception. So now practice matters more than ever. Every rep counts. Every adjustment is scrutinized. And for Sanders it's all about repetition and chemistry. You can see the timing start to click. Receivers are sharper out of breaks. Linemen are holding their blocks longer. There's rhythm again. It's not about flash, it's about function. And that shift is why Sanders is thriving. He doesn't need miracle throws. He needs a working machine. And the Browns are finally starting to build one around him. Slowly, piece by piece, the chaos is giving way to control. Compare that to even a month ago and the difference is night and day. Back then, you had a quarterback scrambling behind a broken line, trying to keep a sputtering offense alive with sheer willpower. Now, you've got a young leader being trusted with real control and real support. The game plans aren't just reactive. They're strategic. The Browns are going into matchups with an actual identity. And for a team that spent years flailing for one, that matters. You can't build a winning culture without consistency, and consistency starts with knowing who your quarterback is. And now there's no doubt who that is. Every snap Sanders takes is proof that this is his team now. You can see it in how he manages the huddle, how he adjusts at the line, how he responds after a hit. He's not waiting to be given the keys, he's already behind the wheel. That's what makes this moment so crucial. Because if the Browns keep leaning into this direction, building the line, acquiring weapons, simplifying the offense, then this team isn't just improving. It's evolving. And Sanders is the reason why. Jimmy Haslam's fingerprints are all over this turning point, not just in the boardroom but on the field. When an owner steps in, overrides standard protocol, and demands the franchise be built around a single player, it changes the tone across the entire organization. That's not just support, it's direction. And after years of wandering in circles, the Browns finally have one. The urgency you're seeing from the coaching staff, the front office, and even the players doesn't come from nowhere. It comes from the top. Haslam made it clear, Shedeur Sanders isn't just the quarterback of now. He's the investment, the bet, the blueprint. And if you're in the building, your job is to protect that investment or get out of the way. Sanders has responded in the only way he knows how, by putting his head down and showing up. He's never been the loudest voice in the room, but he doesn't need to be. His play speaks for him. And right now it's saying, give me the pieces and I'll take you where you want to go. The calm under pressure. The reads under fire. The refusal to fold even when the situation was stacked against him. Those traits are why Haslam pushed so hard. It's not just about raw talent. It's about leadership. It's about growth. And Sanders, despite everything thrown at him this season, just keeps getting better. Now the franchise has a decision to make. Will they continue this momentum or fall back into old habits? Because one good month doesn't erase a decade of dysfunction. But it's a start. And if they stay on this path, if they keep building smart, not flashy, the Browns could finally become something they haven't been in years: stable. If you're watching this rebuild take shape and you think Shedeur Sanders is the real deal, hit that like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this is finally Cleveland's year to break the cycle? And subscribe to stay locked in as this story keeps unfolding.